Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is Thursday, forgot the day then. I hope you all are doing really well. Obviously we sat down yesterday and spoke about Everton's 3-1 victory against Burnley on Monday night at Goodison Park. What a win that was. Everton taking on Aston Villa on Saturday. We will be live tomorrow afternoon, morning time with the game preview ahead of that game. Difficult game away to a good Villa side, obviously heavily invested in the summer, brought in some real talent, the likes of Leon Bailey, Danny Ings, Emi Buendia of course, so that will be certainly a difficult game for Rafa Benitez's Everton side. But I wanted to sit down today and talk about Rafa Benitez himself, because this topic of discussion today is something that we have mentioned before. I think we mentioned it in the pre-season video we done a few weeks back about 5 things we'd learned from pre-season, and it's obviously something that I think is a big plus point in Rafa Benitez's sort of, when you're looking at the positives and negatives of Rafa Benitez as a manager, I think this falls into a massive positive, and it's something for me that Everton have needed. Everton as a football club have needed for a long time, and haven't been able to, manage to bring in until Rafa Benitez has come in as Everton manager. And it's something that I actually think will be the turning point between, Evertonians maybe, wanting Rafa Benitez at the football club and not wanting Rafa Benitez at the football club. Now, I know that mentality has sort of changed an awful lot already since the start of the season and the transfer window, and the fact that it's just settled in now that Rafa Benitez is the new Everton manager. But there is still a selection of Evertonians that aren't happy with the appointment, and even despite the good start of the season, still aren't particularly pleased with the fact that Rafa Benitez is the Everton manager. Whereas I think this, thing that we're going to talk about today is something that could certainly turn that boat to, towards pretty much every Evertonian being behind the manager, and as they should be, because he's the manager of the football club, so what's the point in not being behind him? But that is his never satisfied mentality. Now, we've spoken about this before, like I said, on a couple of other streams, and we've mentioned it about how, having a manager who puts his arm around players and tells them how brilliant they are and how wonderful they are is great. Carlo Ancelotti used to do it all the time. He used to put his arm around players and he used to say, you're amazing, you're the best ever. And I sat here, I can't contradict, I can't be a hypocrite. I sat here on multiple occasions throughout last season and said, I thought that when Carlo Ancelotti was, feeding this information to the players, telling the likes of Dominic Calvert-Lewin that he's one of the best strikers he's ever played with, telling the likes of Seamus Coleman that he's one of the best captains he's ever worked with, I said, and I still, to be fair, I still believe that will have given those players an awful lot of confidence. But sometimes that isn't the right way to go. Sometimes demanding more out of players gets a better reaction from certain players, and I suppose this never satisfied mentality is something that will work wonders with certain players, your likes of your Andros Townsends, your Damari Grays, and mightn't work wonders with other players who are within the squad, because they might feel that they're giving 110% and it's not enough. But I just think that this is the type of mentality that Everton as a football club have needed for so long. We've needed a manager to come in and, you see it on the touchline. You see it with Pep Guardiola at Manchester City. And I remember a few years ago, a clip went viral on social media of, I think Manchester City had just won the league, or it might have been the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup, one of those games, and Raheem Sterling had a really good game. I think he scored in the game. I think he ended up getting man of the match. And there was a video going around at full time of Pep Guardiola on the pitch with Raheem Sterling after the final whistle had gone, after City had won the trophy or whatever it was, after the game was over, and giving him instructions, almost talking to him and saying, well, yeah, we've won the game and we've won the trophy, but you should have been doing this, you should have been doing that, you should have been doing the other. Why weren't you making that run when that lad had the ball on the left hand side? Why weren't you bursting into the middle? And I remember watching that clip thinking, how good would it be to have a manager that even when they're winning trophies, once more, because they weren't happy with what they saw in throughout the game, or they want players to improve, they want players to not become complacent, not sit on the fact that, well, we've won the game so it doesn't matter, the way I play doesn't matter. No, the way you play does matter, because the next time you might play like that and you mightn't win the game, so you've got to improve. And I remember sitting and watching that clip, like I said, and thinking, how good would it be to have a manager who does that, who demands more from the players, who is just football orientated 24/7, works his absolute cojones of, let's say that, to to make sure these players are playing the way he wants them to play. And Rafa Benitez is that type of manager. He has that mentality, and we've seen it on a number of occasions already throughout his time at Everton. Not only the fact that he changes, games in regards to substitutions and tactical changes and formation changes when it's not going right, he'll change it. Not only the fact that he's on the sideline with a notepad, writing down notes, writing down what's right, writing down what's wrong, but we've also seen it in a very similar sense to that Pep Guardiola video that I was talking about then, i.e. players coming out and saying, listen, I could have an unbelievable game where I scored an hat-trick, and Rafa Benitez will come out and tell me that I should have done this on the 60th minute, or I should have made that run, before I scored my second goal instead, and that would have allowed this space to have been open. We've seen it on the pitch, even on Monday night, and this is why I wanted to make this video, and this is why I wanted to talk about this, because we've seen it. There was 2 examples of this never satisfied mentality on Monday night. One of them was a video that's going around the internet. I think it might be from Everton's YouTube channel, of Rafa Benitez on the pitch at the end of the game talking to Seamus Coleman. Now, he's not putting his arm around him, giving him a little rub on the head and saying, "You're amazing, you're the best thing ever." And Seamus, by the way, had a good game on Monday night. He's physically standing in front of him, giving him instructions, telling him, obviously, either where he should be moving or where he should be directing the team to move as club captain, what we should be doing, why. But what I can only assume he's saying is why we should be avoiding conceding a goal like we conceded, where we should be moving in, how we can improve. And a second example was Andros Townsend coming out on Sky Sports News, was interviewed after the game, obviously had a fantastic game of football, worked his ass off in the first half, and obviously, assisted a fantastic cross for Michael Keane in the second half, and scored an absolute worldie as well, just a couple of minutes after. And Andros Townsend was asked by, I think, Jamie Carragher or Gary Neville, what it was like to work under Rafa Benitez again, and what type of manager he is, and all of this sort of stuff. And he said, Andros Townsend basically said, look, to give you an example, he hasn't congratulated me on my goal. I've spoken to him after the game. I've spoken to him since, the final whistle went. He hasn't said, congratulations, what an absolute world-class, goal. He's effectively said, A, you just do what you do, and B, how I can improve, why I made this pass in the 60th minute, why I didn't do this in the 40th minute, why I can make a run in behind a little bit earlier, why I could open space for other players a little bit earlier. And some fans might look at that sort of mentality and that sort of that management style and think, oh, that's just being picky, that's just being, that's wanting too much, that's not going to affect Everton positively, because players are going to get annoyed by that. Players are going to get upset with the fact that a manager's constantly wanting more. But I don't think that is the case. I really don't think that is the case. I think Everton have needed a manager for so long who comes in, and even if we've had a decent game, says, how can we be better? Because let's be honest, we all sat here yesterday in the same way as we sat here after the Southampton game, and we said, look, that second half was amazing on Monday night, absolutely amazing. That 6-minute period was fantastic, blew us all away. It was brilliant. It was absolutely boss to watch. But it wasn't an amazing game of football. We weren't great for 90 minutes. I can't sit here and say Monday night was absolutely perfect. Copy and paste. Well, I can't say copy and paste that every week, because that would mean we'd win 3-1 every week and then we'd win the league. But you get what I'm saying. I can't sit here and say there was nothing wrong with Monday night. It was absolutely perfect, because the reality of the situation is, for 50, 60 minutes, Everton were diabolical. Absolutely diabolical. In that first half, we were dross, and in that second half, for the first 10 or 15 minutes, we were dross, and then for the rest of the game, we were Andros. We just turned it on, and that's great. We turned it on when it matters. We come back from 1-0 down like we did against Southampton. Absolutely brilliant. But, as I said, we want to get to a position where we're sitting here on a Monday after a game, or a Tuesday in this case, or on a weekend, and saying, we absolutely controlled that game from minute 1 to minute 90. We didn't make one single mistake. We were absolutely brilliant. And that's why when you're seeing Rafa Benitez on the pitch at full time, giving instructions to Seamus Coleman, and almost sort of, again, not really congratulating. And I'm sure he will congratulate Andros Townsend on his goal, but it'll probably be after he spent 15 minutes telling him what he should have done in certain other times in the game. That's what you want to see, because it wasn't a perfect performance on Monday night. If it was a perfect performance, then I'd understand fans saying, well, it's just a little bit picky, isn't it? It's just a little bit, why is he picking negatives out of such a... It was a positive, but it wasn't a perfect performance by any stretch of the imagination. For the first 50 minutes, we were very, very poor. So I loved seeing that video of Seamus Coleman being given instructions by Rafa Benitez at full time when the game was over, and Rafa didn't need to do that. He could have walked into the press box, spoke about how brilliant he is, spoke about how brilliant Everton are, and then went home, but he didn't. He made an effort to come onto the pitch and say, no, I need to, I've got this, maybe not an issue, but I've got this, I've got these instructions I need to say to the club captain because this needs to be better next time. Again, making sure that before he puts his arm around Andros Townsend and says, you're amazing, that was an amazing goal, he's telling him the things he didn't do right. So Andros Townsend goes away and goes, well, you know what, I'll master them then. I'll go and work hard on them, and I'll go and be the best at them as well. I'll improve me passing, I'll improve me movements, I'll improve me this, I'll improve me that. That is exactly what we need. We've just come off the back of a manager in Carlo Ancelotti who was almost the complete opposite at Rafa Benitez. And again, I'm not comparing Carlo Ancelotti with Rafa Benitez. I'm not saying Benitez is a better manager. I'm not saying Ancelotti failed. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is, in terms of this managerial mentality and managerial type, Carlo Ancelotti was very different to Rafa Benitez. Carlo Ancelotti sort of, his management, from what I've gauged and what I can assume, his management sort of, I suppose, strategy or way of working was very much to put your arm around the players and tell them how absolutely brilliant they are and the fact that they're the best in the world at what they do, and hope that breeds a confidence inside them. And with some, it did. It worked for Carlo Ancelotti. Can't sit here and contradict and say that never worked. It worked for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He put his arm around Dominic Calvert-Lewin and told him he was one of the best strikers he's ever worked with. Dominic Calvert-Lewin was amazing since then. Absolutely amazing since then. It worked with, various other players in the team. But as a mentality as a whole for the club, I just don't think that really works for Everton. I don't think telling players that, let's be honest, are good players but aren't the best in the world, telling them that they're the best in the world or they're up there with the best he's ever worked with, I just don't think that works. I think we need more of a manager like Rafa Benitez, who is very similar to the David Moyes days at Everton, where he'd come in and he'd demand more, he'd want more. Yes, we've beaten Burnley 3-1 and we could have beaten them 4-1, 5-1, 6-1, but we could have been 3-0 down at half time if they'd have had any sort of quality in their team. So again, like I said, it's something that we've mentioned. We know Rafa Benitez is a football, he's football mad. He spends, most of his life working on whichever job he's in. He spends most of his life working, on that. Is being players in past years come out and say he's the first in the training ground, he's the last out. He's been known to sleep at training grounds before. He's data mad. And look at the signings he's brought in so far this summer. Again, I remember sitting here and when Andros Townsend and Damari Gray come in and thinking, yeah, good players, exciting players, again, they've come in for free, Premier League experience, blah, 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 but, they're probably not going to light it up, they're probably not going to be, they're not going to be a whirlwind to us. And again, I get it's only 3-4 games into the season, I'm not getting too excited, but Andros Townsend looked absolutely brilliant so far. Again, a player that thrives off that never satisfied mentality from the manager, wants to do better, wants to constantly improve, and as I said yesterday, has got a left foot like a NASA spaceship, mate. Absolute worldy of a left foot. Damari Gray coming, finally working under a manager where he can settle down. He's enjoying his football, he's loved by the fans, he's obviously being told by the manager, listen, you're brilliant, but focus on this area as well, or improve on that area as well. And that, it only takes a couple of players to sort of to sort of soak up that mentality, and the rest of the squad to see, oh, look at Andros Townsend there, he's just scored a worldie in the weekend, and he's just being told that he needs to do better in this area, he needs to do better in that area, and he's not gone home and had a strop on. He's not come into training the next day thinking, oh, well, I scored a worldie, I shouldn't have to do more. He's on training, improving on the things that the manager's told him to improve on. He's in training doing this and doing that. And that, like I said, that will follow down onto the rest of the players and the rest in the squad. That will trickle down, that effect, because players will look at that and think, do you know what, actually, I want to improve on the play on the positions I'm not improving on. I want to do better. I want to make sure that I'm the best of the best. I'm the top of the top. Because Rafa Benitez will be saying to these players, listen, if you want to be the pinnacle of world football, if you want to be the best of the best, then you need to improve on these certain areas. It's not a case of putting his arm around players and saying you're the best thing ever. Just go out and be confident. Because the reality of the situation is these players, I think Everton have got a good side, but let's be honest, Everton could be a 10 out of 10 and still lose to 2 or 3 sides in the Premier League, because we're not, in terms of quality, we're not the best side in the Premier League. So instead of saying we are, let's work on the things that we're not that great at and improve on them. And I think that's the way Rafa Benitez works. And some would say that's the way every manager should work. But, when was the last time we saw an Everton manager on the pitch at full time when we'd won, giving instructions to players to do better? When was the last time we saw a player come out and say, I haven't even been congratulated on that goal, but I've been told that I need to do this, that and the other? When was the last time we heard a player come out and say that the manager in training, if they do it, if they make a silly mistake in training, even if it's in the final 5 minutes of the session in the knackered, he'll pull them aside for half an hour and tell them why they shouldn't do that? Rafa Benitez, whether you like him or not, whether you wanted him as Everton manager or not, or whether you still want him as Everton manager or not, this fella very, very, very clearly cares about the job that he is doing. Very clearly cares. He cares about the football club, of course he does, but he very clearly cares about doing as good of a job as he possibly can. It's clear to see. It's clear to see when players are coming out and talking about him. It's clear to see in videos, in the training pitches, in game day scenarios. He's always on the sideline changing games with his notepad. It's clear to see that this fella wants to get the very, very best out of whichever group of players that he's managing. And if he can get I said it yesterday. I said, I remember sitting here last season under Carlo Ancelotti. And if you were to have said to me last season under Carlo Ancelotti, Andre Gomez is going to come on at 1-1 against Burnley at home, I'd have been thinking, why are we bringing Andre Gomez on at 1-0 against Burnley at home? He isn't going to change the game. He isn't going to turn the game around. He isn't going to score or assist or be involved. Andre Gomez come on at 1-0 against Burnley on Monday night and change the game. Now, yes, the game, obviously the system changed and the style and the formation, etc. But individually, as a performer, Andre Gomez changed the game. How many times last season did we see Alex Iwobi warming up under Carlo Ancelotti, and we all sort of sat here and went, why is he bringing Alex Iwobi on? He's not going to change the game. He's not going to do anything. All of a sudden, every time Rafa Benitez has brought Alex Iwobi on this season, he's had an impact. He's been involved in 65-70% of the goals that we've scored. He's scored a goal himself, which is a very good goal. He's coming off the bench and he's troubling defences. He's giving them something to think about. He's putting himself in the right areas. He's moving the ball well. These are the same players that we witnessed come off the bench last season and not do anything. They're now coming off the bench and doing and having a positive impact on the game. And yes, again, I get 3-4 games in, I understand that this all could change drastically within the next couple of months. But at this very moment, and we can only talk about at this very moment, we can only give a perspective, an opinion on what's going on at this very moment. Rafa Benitez seems to be getting more out of this Everton team than not just Carlo Ancelotti did, but any of the previous managers since David Moyes has done, or maybe Roberto Martinez in his first season. It just seems to be a bit different. So, yeah. Anyway, like I said, let us know your thoughts. This is going to be sort of a new series, the Let's Talk series, where we basically pick a topic, we throw Let's Talk in the start of the title, and we sit down and we talk about it, because I honestly do think that this never satisfied mentality is something that Everton have desperately needed for a long, long time. Throughout the players, but also in the manager as well, because it trickles down, like I said. You can have a player with a never satisfied mentality, but if you've got a manager who's satisfied with the 1-1 draw against Burnley, or satisfied with taking a point in a game that you should be winning, then that's going to trickle down to the rest of the squad, not that one player who's got this never satisfied mentality. Whereas if you've got a manager with that mentality, it's going to trickle down to the entire squad and hopefully trickle up to the upper areas in the club as well, so we're not satisfied with just hovering around mid-table and being a club that everybody goes, oh, aren't Everton good? Because they never really challenge for the top 5, they never really get relegated, they're just dead sound. No, that's not what we want. We want to be a team that Sky Sports are sitting there scratching their heads throughout the season thinking, how are we going to fit Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Man City, Arsenal, all of these teams into this top 4 or 5 when Everton are bursting in and performing better than all of them? That's what we want. We want to be a disruptor. We don't want to be a team that people go, yeah, you're a good use because you never really threaten the top 6 and you never really get relegated, so you just sit there. No, that's not what we want. Anyway, let's get into the live comments then. If you are enjoying, by the way, so far, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. It would mean a massive, massive amount to me. Udin says, Marco Silva and Carlo Ancelotti teach valuable lesson after Rafa Benitez start. Don't know what that's referring to, mate, but there you go. James says, big up, Cam. Hope you're well, mate. I'm good, mate. I'm good. I hope you're doing well yourself, James. Chandler says that was my last home game before going back to uni. When the fourth goal went in and was ruled out, I ended up 3 rows in front of me in the Gladys. Yeah, it was mad, that one, wasn't it? It was absolutely mad. Where are we? Jason says, hi, Cam, hi, everybody. Hi, mate, hope you're doing well. Eugene says, are you watching the Rafa Benitez press conference at 1 p.m. for the Aston Villa versus Everton game? Is it today? Usually Rafa's press conferences are on a Friday. Is it today, is it? That's strange, because usually Everton do the press conferences on a Friday. They don't typically do them on a Thursday. What day are we on? Oh, it is today, yeah. Apparently. There you go. So there's something to look forward to. Rafa Benitez will be facing the media, apparently, at 1 p.m. today. Let me just make sure. Yeah, at Thursday at 1 p.m. So there you go. Interesting. I will be watching it, and we will be covering it on our Twitter. So don't forget to go over to our Twitter at MightyBluesYT to keep up to date with all of that. Liam says, Cam, if we had a value of say 30 million for Townsend and Gray combined, they would have been classed as assets, which would bring our financial fair play closer to where we need it. Is that right? I don't know. To be honest, I'm very confused myself with the whole financial fair play sort of stuff. I am very confused. So I'm not really too queued up on that. I'm going to Toffee TV today, so if John's in, I'll try and speak to him and let you know. Steven says, good to see Rafa has kicked a few players up the arse and showing them that Everton is not a holiday camp. Yes, Colin says, hello, Cam, watching live from Lanzarote. You're making my holidays amazing. Keep up the amazing work. Thank you very much, Colin. Really appreciate that, mate. I'm very jealous that you're over in Lanzarote, by the way. I'm very, very, very jealous, but I do hope you enjoy yourself. James says, so far I'm pleased with Benitez. I can easily identify how we are going to play. Yeah, Liam says, honestly, don't have a complaint about Rafa, made up with him. I'd agree. Alan says, so can I, James Dunlop. Negativity like Allardyce, who most fans hated, but gets us starting lineup wrong and have to change it. Yeah, Jason says, I guess another issue regarding James, he won't take Rafa saying he wasn't satisfied. Well, that's the motivation of the player, isn't it? That's the motivation of the player. Imagine how good of a player James Rodriguez could be for Everton if he adopted this never satisfied mentality, if he worked at Rafa Benitez and thought, no, do you know what, I'm going to get my head down and I'm going to work hard and I'm going to make sure that I'm, as fit as I need to be and as fit as I can be, because I hate this sort of, and I don't believe this sort of, not rumour, but this narrative that's going round about it's James Rodriguez or Rafa Benitez, he just doesn't like him, he'll never play him, he just nonsense. If James Rodriguez is doing what every other, let's say James Rodriguez is working out as hard as Andros Townsend is and is giving as much as Andros Townsend is insane, and he'll be in this Everton team. Rafa Benitez has already said if he stays at the football club, we'll utilise his quality in the best way that we can, because he's a world-class footballer. So it's not a narrative of, oh, they don't like each other or they don't work well with each other. It's probably just a clash in, like I said, that mentality of Rafa wanting more from a certain players, and those certain players maybe either not being able to give more or not being willing to give more. Alan says, however, I do feel pragmatic as the way we should go with the squad. Steven says, hope we never play 3 centre-backs again. We don't need to. We're better with 2. Yeah. Josh Belter, says Liam. I've been keeping that one in my mind for a couple of days. Jason says it shows Rafa is more of a tactician than the previous managers we had before him. Liam says, one thing about Rafa is he has standards and they're high. I ain't complaining, mate. Yeah, I'd agree. High standards, that's what you want. Alan says, don't use understandards, and Ahmadinho uses to see his Klopp jumps around like a hugging everyone, and there's no real substance to it. It's to get in people's heads and make them believe in you. Well, ultimately, if that's the case, mate, and if that is the case, then Jurgen Klopp won a Champions League and a Premier League with Liverpool by having that mentality. Jurgen Klopp when he come into Liverpool, and I think very famously said, we need to turn non-believers into believers or something like that. And let's not forget, Jurgen Klopp went into Liverpool at a time when they were bang mid-table, not really doing anything, not really achieving anything. And he come in and said this, and the Liverpool fans just sort of went, yeah, we do need to believe, oh my God. And even though they lost the Europa League final early on in his career, even though they come second in the league and, and struggled and this, that and the other, and got to a Champions League final and lost to Real Madrid, they never stopped, continuing to back that process. and all of a sudden they come out with the Champions League and a Premier League. And yes, that's because they've got a lot of quality players, understand that, but a lot of that is down to the fact that the fans didn't turn their back on the manager, and the fans continued to support that. So it's worked wonders for Jurgen Klopp. If you're enjoying, by the way, please hit that like button. It only takes a second. And if you're new, don't forget to subscribe. It would mean a massive amount to me. Glenn says, Cam the man, lovely stuff. My question, what does Rafa need to do to win over the remaining members of our fan base that doubt him? Also, are you all in on Rafa? I'm all in on Benitez, mate. Of course I am. He's the Everton manager. I'm with boss at the minute, so of course I am. To answer your original question, I don't think there will ever become a point where every single Evertonian is satisfied with Rafa Benitez, unfortunately. And this is sad to say. This is really, really sad to say, because I do think, and I have seen comments from Evertonians saying that, you know, even if we win a title, even if we win the league, even if we finish in Europe, I won't be happy with him. I'll still want him sacked. I'll still want him out. And that's really sad, that, because that's effectively Evertonians saying they're putting Everton and Everton's successes second, and the fella who's in charge of Everton first, when it should be completely the other way around. It doesn't really matter who's in charge of Everton and where they've managed before, as long as Everton are doing really well. Carlo Ancelotti hadn't managed Liverpool before, hadn't managed any of our rivals before, was the perfect fit, but Everton weren't getting results. Everton weren't first in his mentality. Of course they weren't, because he's gone to Real Madrid at the first chance to. Rafa Benitez, Everton are first in Rafa Benitez's mentality. Everton are first in Rafa Benitez's thoughts and mind now. Of course they are, because you can see it in the work that he's putting in. And Everton, for that, are doing really well on the field. Now, okay, it's only a couple of games in, I understand that. But, as I said, mate, unfortunately, I think there will always be a selection. Even if it's a small minority, a very small minority, there will always be a selection of fans that will always doubt Rafa Benitez and will always not want him as Everton manager. I'm not one of them, and I'm sure there's a lot of fans in here that aren't of that mentality either. Stephen says, we need to play Gomez on Saturday, pack the midfield and press Villa back. Yeah. Liam says, just keep getting results, Glenn. I thought he'd work well, but felt slightly weird about it, but the man just wants to win, and he didn't win me over, though. Fans finding out where he lived won me over. There you go. Interesting. Jason says, remember to hit the like button and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. If you could hit that like button, it would mean an absolutely fantastic amount to me. It really, really would. And if you could subscribe to the channel if you're new, that would be great as well. Glenn says, nil satisfied and is he optimum? Yeah. Glenn says, nothing for Benitez is good enough. James says, if James Rodriguez wants to be in the World Cup next year, then he has to fight for his place and stay fit. The Colombian manager warned him weeks ago. He did. June says, good shout to start Gomez with Iwobi on the left and Grace as centre forward. No place for Richarlison. Not good enough at the minute. I don't agree with that, June. That's fair enough. That's your opinion. I don't agree with that. Personally, I would have, for me, against Villa, I'd have a 4-4-2. I would have Alan and Decore in the midfield. I would have Townsend on the right. I would have Iwobi on the left, and I would have Damari Gray and Richarlison up front as a front two. And then I'd have Rondon coming on again, maybe with about half an hour to go this time to get a bit more match fitness, because I don't think he's particularly match fit. Adam, she said, too many gobbys on the train last night, could hardly move. Glenn says, I am now following at TheMightyBlues. Thank you very much, Glenn. Really, really do appreciate it. If you haven't followed us on Twitter so far, go down and follow us. It only takes a second. And yeah, we keep up to date with all of the latest Everton news. And Adam, she says, I'd have Suarez and Gerrard as manager if it means winning the league. Well, listen, I'd have, like I said, it's about Everton. Everton are first. I love Everton more than I dislike Liverpool Football Club, and that will always be the case. That's why when we played Manchester City a few years ago, I never wanted Everton to lose. I wanted Everton to win. I jumped up and screamed my heart out when Ross Barkley scored that goal, because my love for Everton outweighs my dislike or my hatred for anything else, including Liverpool Football Club. I don't dislike Liverpool more than I love Everton, because I just think that's the wrong way now. Some people might do, and that's fair enough, but I don't. I love Everton more than I dislike any football club, including them lot across the park. Don't get me wrong, I dislike them very heavily, but I love Everton a lot more than I dislike them. So I'll never want Everton to lose, regardless of what it means for them. I'll never want Everton to not be successful, regardless of what it means to them. And plus, why would we not want it to be successful? If your mentality is so anti-Liverpool more than pro-Everton, which is mad anyway, that some fans think like that, but if that's the mentality, then surely you'd want Rafa Benitez to do well, because if Everton win the league with Rafa Benitez, then he's achieved something he didn't manage to achieve at Liverpool, and that will wind them up even more. If Rafa Benitez fails at Everton, then they'll be all over that. They'll be loving it. They'll be absolutely made up they'll have the t-shirts out and everything, all of that nonsense. If he's a success at Everton, then they can't say anything, they'll be quiet. So why would we not want it to be a success? It just baffles me. But anyway, yeah, like I said, just a little short stream today. Just thought we'd sit down and talk about this never satisfied mentality, because I think it's something that we'll continue to see throughout the course of the season and throughout the course of Rafa Benitez's time as Everton manager, and I honestly really do think it's something that benefits Everton massively. I do. Some people might disagree, some people might agree, but I just think it's something that benefits Everton massively, having a manager who constantly wants more from the players, constantly demands more from the players, constantly, again, not that he isn't happy, he is happy, but he just wants more. He just wants to see more. He just wants to show. He wants the players to show more. And he's not going to sit there, and if a player has had a terrible 85 minutes and then blasts a worldie in the last 5 minutes, he's not going to sit there and say, "You're brilliant. That was absolutely amazing." He's going to sit there and say, "Yeah, very good goal, but what happened for the first 85 minutes? You weren't very good." So there you go. Celta Vape says, "Hi, do you think some of the fans are turning on Richie?" No, I just think there's a period where Richarlison, it's the same every year. He has a little period where maybe he goes off the pitch in a strop, and some fans have a go at him. He'll turn up on Saturday, and if he scores, everything will be sound again. And Bright says, "Cam trying to sing a song." Don't know what that is, mate. Don't know what that is. Anyway, look, we're going to finish it there. Then if you have enjoyed this live stream, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. As I said, we'll be back tomorrow with the live game preview ahead of Everton's Premier League fixture against Aston Villa on Saturday. So don't forget to check that one out. If you are new to the channel, please do subscribe. It does only take a second, and it means a massive amount to me. And as I said, if you've enjoyed this one, leave a like. Big thanks for watching. Massive thanks to everybody in the live comments. Really appreciate it. And if you're watching as a YouTube video, big thanks to everybody for watching. Get your thoughts in the comments, and we'll get involved with as many of them as possible. Big thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues. Cheers for watching. See you after.